Okay, so you finally decided that this is the year you're going to jump into the real estate market. You're finally going to buy that home, but you want to make sure you don't make any mistakes along the way. Well, in this video, I'm going to discuss the 10-step buying process. Yes, there's only 10 simple steps to buying a home, and by the end of this video, you're going to be able to go through that process and make sure that you don't fall into any of the traps that many people in the past have fallen into. But before I get into it, my name is Nolan Matthias, and if you want to buy a home in Canada, this is the place for you. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button so more people like you can see this video. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the 10-step home buying process. It really is that simple, and I'm going to go through each step, explain them to you, and also give you a heads up for any landmines or any traps that may come up to surprise you along the way. And I'm relatively certain that if you follow the advice in this video, you will definitely be able to buy a home without any major headaches. So let's get into it. Let's start with step number 1, which is to evaluate your current financial situation. If you're already in the process of looking to buy a home in the near future, you've probably already gone through this. But there is one thing that I want to point out. Just because you're ready to buy a home, just because you think you have the down payment saved, doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready to actually jump into it. You want to make sure that in addition to having enough money for the down payment and the income to actually be able to make your mortgage payments, that you've got some money saved for an emergency fund. Because when you own a home, there are things that are going to come up down the road that are going to cost you money, and you want to make sure you have at least some funds set aside for that, and also for the unlikely event that you may lose your job and have to dip into some savings in order to keep your home. The last thing you want is not to be able to make your mortgage payment, so it is imperative that you not only have a down payment saved, but you have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved as well before you jump into the market. Now, some of my real estate and my mortgage broker friends are going to get upset that I said that, but the reality here is that this isn't about them selling a home or selling a mortgage. The reality here is that you want to make sure that you don't lose the home that you end up buying. So evaluating your financial readiness is more than just about creating a budget and having a down payment. It's about looking at the worst case scenario that could possibly come up for you and making sure that you're also prepared for that in the unlikely event that it happens. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but always make sure that you have a plan B. Now, the next step in the home buying process, if you have not done it already, is to save a down payment. Now, there's a whole bunch of ways you can do this and things you can take advantage of, but I highly recommend taking advantage of RRSPs, where you get a tax rebate and have the ability to pull the money out in the future in order to buy a home. Or even better, take advantage of the brand new first-time homebuyers account, which gives you the benefits of both the RSP with the tax refunds if you make a contribution, as well as the ability to pull the funds out tax-free, meaning that you don't have to pay them back like you would if you were to borrow from your RRSP. And I'm going to tell you right now, using the first-time homebuyer savings account combined with an RSP and any employer matching that you're getting from your employer if you're looking to put money into your RSP is the fastest way to save your down payment, because you will be getting those tax returns and those tax rebates that will help you increase the speed at which you can save your down payment. Oh, and one other thing you can do is use RSP loans in order to borrow the money, make the contributions, get a tax refund, and ultimately end up saving that down payment even faster. But be careful when you're getting an RSP loan, because keep in mind that that will limit the amount of money that you qualify for when it comes to getting a mortgage. So make sure that you talk to a mortgage broker before you implement that kind of strategy, which leads us to the next step, which is getting pre-approved for a mortgage. Now, many people think that this is something that you should do in the 60 to 90 days before you purchase a home. That is probably not accurate. The reason why is because the sooner that you get a pre-approval, the more information and the better information that you will have in order to ultimately make your buying decision. So if you think that you may be purchasing a house 2 or 3 years down the road, it does make sense to get a pre-approval right now, because then you will have a complete picture of how much you qualify for. And if there's anything on your credit or anything with your income that needs to be sorted out, a mortgage broker will be able to help you determine what those things are well before you're actually in the process of buying a home. And yes, I absolutely said use a mortgage broker, and you want to be using a mortgage broker because, let's be honest, it's not 1999 anymore. I think at this point, it's safe to say that banks are there to make money for shareholders and don't necessarily have your best interests at heart, but a really good mortgage broker will be able to make sure you not only get the right mortgage, but that you get it with the right lender. And especially in an environment where interest rates are going down, this is incredibly important. I cannot emphasize how important this is, because things that you may not be aware of, like high payout penalties at big banks, could come back to haunt you if there's an opportunity down the road to get a lower interest rate. Just take my word for that and check out some of the other videos on this channel in order to see what I mean. By the way, if you want to know more about getting a mortgage and getting the lowest rate and why the lowest rate isn't necessarily always the best thing, I did write a book called Mortgage Secrets, which you can get by going to mortgagesecrets.ca. And by the way, that book is completely free. All you have to do is pay shipping. The reason I give it away for free is because I believe that everybody is entitled to complete and perfect information, and not just the information that the banker wants to give you, while ignoring things like the fact that their penalties are massive. Oh, and one other thing on pre-approvals, make sure when you get that pre-approval that they actually ask for things like your down payment verification and income documents, and that they're actually fully underwriting the pre-approval and verifying it with documents that you provide, so that when you go to buy a home, you actually are going to get approved for that mortgage. There are lots of people out there, lots of bankers, lots of brokers out there that will do a pre-approval based on the information that you give them. And a lot of people find out way too late that the information that they provided wasn't necessarily the information that was needed to get pre-approved, and it kiboshes the whole deal. So make sure you're getting what's called a fully underwritten pre-approval. Pre-qualification versus pre-approval, the words are used interchangeably. Don't worry about that. Just make sure that they are reviewing your documents and that your documents support the pre-approval. Step number 4, now that you've got your pre-approval, is to budget for additional costs. Things like property taxes, things like property insurance, things that you may not necessarily realize are there, but are hugely important for you to consider. Because there are a lot of people that end up buying a first home that don't realize that there are other expenses involved. So you want to make sure that those are factored into your budget and that you're not just assuming there's going to be a mortgage payment, heating, and that's going to be all the costs associated with owning the home. You need to go a little bit deeper than that and make sure that you're factoring in all of the additional expenses that come along with home ownership. And you can check out other videos on this channel for that, or check out the Googles. Just Google in additional cost to owning a home over and above the mortgage, or what are the expenses associated with buying a home. You'll be able to find lots of really good information. Now, the next step, step number 5, is to hire a real estate agent. I cannot emphasize how important this is. You need to make sure you have somebody who represents you and is looking out for your best interests in the home buying process. And by the way, there's a link in the description below. If you need help finding a real estate agent in Canada, I have people in pretty much every part of the country that I can refer you to that will look out for you and not just for their best interests or the interests of their sellers. There may be the temptation to go online and search for houses and find somebody on the internet to show you those houses, or to drive by a house and say, hey, that one looks nice, it has a for sale sign, and to call the number on the for sale sign. But you shouldn't be doing that. You need to interview agents, find the one that you believe is going to look out for your best interests, and have them do all of the work for you. A great agent that is there to look out for your interests will not only save you a whole bunch of money, but they will also make sure you don't make any silly mistakes, like buying a home that is on the right of way for a future highway that is going to be impossible to sell once that highway is built, or any other number of potential issues. Now, the 6th step is to begin your home search. You've got your real estate agent, you've told them what you want, they've set you up on a search, and they're sending you listings that meet your criteria. And then what you want to do is you want to have a really great filtering process. The trick here is to only view those homes that are highly likely to meet your criteria. The last thing you want to do is see 30, 40, 50 homes because 1, it takes a lot of work, and 2, it can create a lot of confusion when you see a whole bunch of different houses and you can't remember what the last one was, or the 5th last one was, or the 10th last one was. So you want to do your narrowing down before you actually go out and view the houses. And then once you've narrowed it down to 3 to 5 houses, go and view those houses. If you find one that you love, great, write an offer. If you don't, then reevaluate your criteria so that the next time you go out and look at 3 to 5 more houses, you are more in line with what you want. Typically, the first round of 3 to 5 houses ends up being a scouting trip to figure out what you really do want and what you really don't want. And then if you can do a second round of 3 to 5 and you've really drilled down on what your criteria is, you'll more than likely find the right home on that trip. The 7th step in the home buying process is, once you find the house that you love, make an offer. And this is again where a great real estate agent will be worth their weight in gold. Maybe not completely worth their weight in gold, but they will definitely save you a ton of money by being good negotiators and knowing how to get the best deal possible for you. Now, here's the thing. The difference between a good realtor and a great realtor is their negotiating skills. So there's a question that I like to encourage people to ask their realtor when they're interviewing them. And that is, can I get a discount? Can you give me a deal on your commissions? And then really push them for that deal. The realtors who are willing to do the job for less, by the way, are the realtors that can't even advocate on their own behalf. And if they can't advocate on their own behalf, how do you expect them to act when it comes time for them to advocate on behalf of you? So you want a realtor who, no matter how hard you push them, is able to quickly come up with answers as to why you shouldn't ask them for a discount. And if they can't do this, when the opposing realtor on the other side, the one who has listed the house that you're writing an offer on, comes back to negotiate against them, well, the chances of them being able to be quick on their feet and get you a deal are probably slim to none. So the key thing here is you want to find the realtors that are the best negotiators. And again, link in the description. I can help you find one if you don't have one already. Now, when you write an offer, there is going to be a whole bunch of conditions that you write into the offer because we aren't going to write offers in crazy markets where you can't have conditions, right? Right. We're not going to do bidding wars. That's part of the process. Don't get into a bidding war because if you are getting into a bidding war, you're buying in a market that's probably overheated, and that's a bad idea. So you want to make sure that you have certain things like a financing condition, which allows you to arrange your actual mortgage, which I'll get to in a second, and then allows you to do things like have an appraisal done, have a home inspection done, and review condo documents if that's relevant to the property that you're purchasing. Now, when it comes time to do the home inspection, you want to make sure that you hire a great home inspector, somebody typically that your realtor trusts, because most consumers don't have a home inspector in their back pocket. So you have to go with the recommendations of the realtors. They will know who the best ones are. They will know who the ones that will give you the straight goods are. And a good home inspector will potentially save you from making a bad mistake on a bad property. Do not skip this step. Make sure that you get every home, every condo that you purchase, whether it's brand new or whether it is something that is resale, make sure that you get a home inspection done. Oh, and with respect to appraisals, this is something that's typically done by the lender. You don't necessarily need to do this or worry about this unless the lender asks for it, but it's a good idea to have a time frame built into your contract, which your realtor will help you with, so that an appraisal can be done. Now, the ninth step in the process is to secure your mortgage. Once you've written the offer, you send that off to your mortgage broker. They will then go through a process of helping you choose a mortgage. They are not going to choose it for you. And if your mortgage broker starts to choose a mortgage for you and maybe won't tell you which lender they're going to or didn't ask you which lender you would like to choose, probably a good time to run from them. But a great mortgage broker will present several options, will help you choose the best mortgage option, the best type of mortgage, and the best lender. But ultimately, they're guiding the process. You're making the decisions, and their job is to go out and obtain the mortgage that you instruct them to. Once they've sent the mortgage off to the lender for approval, the lender should come back having it fully approved because you got a pre-approval, right? And the broker, being competent, did a pre-approval, which should give you a high likelihood of getting the actual approval. And then the lender is going to come back and ask for some additional documents if what you have provided to the broker previously aren't the exact documents that they need. This is totally normal. It's part of the process. And the faster you get the documents to them, the faster the process goes. By the way, I'll link to another video at the end of this one that talks about the mortgage process in significantly more detail so you know what the steps are there too. And surprise, surprise, guess how many there are? 10 steps. Now, the last and final step is to meet with your lawyer. Once the mortgage is all done and you've waived your conditions on your offer to purchase, everything will be sent to the lawyer for about 7 to 10 days prior to closing. The lawyer will draft up all the documents to transfer the property from the previous owners to you, as well as any mortgage documents, and we'll have you sit down at a signing table to go through everything and then sign on the dotted line to make the actual purchase. At this point in time, you'll also be asked to bring in any additional down payment money to the lawyer's office so that it can be transferred to the seller of the property, along with the mortgage funds from your approved mortgage, if you have one. And most people have one. So when the lawyer asks you to bring in a big check, don't be surprised. Now, once all the money from the bank where you're getting your mortgage is transferred and your down payment money is transferred to the seller's lawyer will confirm with the buyer's lawyer, and they will mutually agree to close the deal, which means at that point in time, you'll be able to get your keys from the realtor, which leads to the actual very last step in the process, which is closing the deal. This is where you get the keys, you get to move into the home, you get to transfer all of your utilities over to the new property, you get to change your address for all of your mail, and you get to actually take possession of the home. And that's it. It's really that simple. Now, obviously, it's not that simple, but that is the basic 10-step process. Now, if you want some more information on this, there's obviously other videos on this channel. But if you want a little bit more organization and you want to know the entire process in detail from start to finish, as well as detailed chapters on each step in the process, I do have what's called the Home Buyer Masterclass, which is linked to in the description below. It's super cheap. It's designed to make sure that you don't miss anything. And it's also designed to give you all of the information that you need in order to be a well-informed buyer. In fact, the information in the Home Buyer Masterclass will make you significantly more informed than a lot of real estate agents in the industry. Did I mention I can help you choose a realtor by clicking in the other link in the description below? So I've priced that so it's super cheap. You'll get at least 10 to 20 times your money back just by having the information that's in that course. And you'll also get something extra special from me, which is a rebate if you end up choosing Mortgage 360 for your mortgage. Oh, and if you want to see another video on the home buying process or the mortgage process, check out this video right here.